and there is the land available. The land is not land which is being used agriculturally. It is land which is just merely lying idle from before Columbus was here, and so on. And in this day and age where we have reasonable, effective earth-moving equipment, this is in fact possible. Because the site I saw ever so many years ago was not one that required tremendous earth-moving operations. I think it had what we might call a minimal, just about a minimum of earth-moving operations to be effected. So that, I think, should be a wonderful memorial to Caleb Lora. It is true, I understand, that a stand, one of the stands at Stadium, Windsor Park, is going to be named after Caleb Lora. That is one thing, and that is something to be regarded as eminently suitable. But certainly as well, I can see no one other than Caleb Lora after whom a playing field of consequence could be named in the West Coast area. And I think that should be done, because I think it will do Dominica's cricket a world of good. And Caleb Lora, from all accounts, was a very fine cricketer and a very fine gentleman on and off the field of play. I cannot recall any umpires having had any kind of admonition of any serious nature in respect of Caleb Lora. Caleb Lora was always the kind of person who would get other players to let's move on with the game, regardless of whether you think a decision was bad or so-called unfair. He felt it was better to get on with the game and to better effect. So there couldn't be anyone who would be more appropriately cited for that kind of memorial. And in that particular regard, I want to compliment my former colleague on the cricket field, Henry Babs Dyer. I want to compliment him for having unearthed a very good photograph of a team in which Caleb Lora played. And it was a club team. I happened to be as well in that picture, so, and Dyer as well, and one or two others. I would like to see that picture blown up to tremendous proportions, and I would like to see a copy of it presented formally and officially to the wife of the late Caleb, John Lora. Of course, such a picture would do well to be displayed prominently in a suitable edifice, a suitable pavilion, or what have you. But Caleb Lora, marvelous cricketer. I wonder when we will have another like him. We only hope, of course, that it will not be too long before others may wish to follow in his footsteps. But before we can get others to wish to follow in his footsteps, I think we need to accord a certain level of prominence and dignity to the memory of our top cricketers. We need to do that, and do that in very, very appropriate manner. In substantial and significant manner, we need to do that. Now we look at a little bit to do with the cricket which has been taking place in the last couple of weeks. The 2020 World Cup tournament, 20 overs aside. And those matches were being played in Guyana, in St. Lucia, and in Barbados. Of course, tomorrow, or today as I speak to you, this program was recorded yesterday. So today, the final match of that tournament is to take place. And it is between the two oldest adversaries in not international cricket, in Test cricket, England and Australia. The final will be between these two countries. Now, the reason why I said Test cricket adversaries, because the first ever international cricket match which took place was not, I repeat, not between England and Australia. Ironically, it was between Canada and the United States of America. The first ever international match was played in 1859 between Canada and the United States. A lot of water passed under the bridge, and of course cricket did not take the kind of hold that it was expected it could have taken in Canada and USA. Then the first test match was played between England and Australia in 1877. So the first international cricket match took place a few years earlier between Canada and the USA. Now, you have to admire, without any reservation, the Australians. Here it is, they played in the semi-final against Pakistan, and Pakistan surprised all and sundry, getting as many as 190 or so runs in their 20 overs. And they began their bowling effort by getting early wickets against Australia. And Pakistan scored their runs for 6 wickets, losing a couple later on when they tried to hit out. And the Australians had lost 4 wickets when there were 60 or so runs on the board and whatnot. But they continued to focus and to fight it out. Now, Australia needed some 80 or so runs, 75 to 80 runs in the last 5 overs. It was working out at about 16 runs per over, thereabout. And lo and behold, the Australians dug in and put their muscle to good effect. And finally, when the last ball was being bowled, or the ball before the last, they wanted 3 runs. And a 6 was hit by Hussey. And Australia extricated themselves from what was a very perilous position. In my view, I thought that Pakistan had the wrongest approach in the later stages of the match. I thought the bowlers should have been they should have been asked to bowl outside of off stump, pitching the ball, if necessary, right up to the block hole. And the field should have been set with 2 sweepers on the boundary, players inside to prevent the ball from going through, and with an offside field, you would have been able to restrict Australia to the point where, of the 5 overs where they needed as many as 16 runs per over, there would have been at least 2 good overs bowled where they didn't get more than 6 to 8 or 12 runs. And at the end, Australia would have been requiring not 16 runs in the last over, as they had, but 20 odd to 30 runs in that final over, and Pakistan would have been able to pull it through. But